Chapter 25. Aftermath. 1 week later. Date unknown. Safe house/motel. Laila is in the kitchen at the table writing a letter to Natasha and Clint, and she thinks for a moment, but the memories of Tony's heartbreak and grief flashes back into her mind. Then she looks at the letter, and she reads it quietly. Hey, you two. I do not even know how to start this. My hands will not stop shaking, and the more I try to find the right words, the more it all just comes out as noise in my head. But you deserve the truth. So here it is, Steve, and I are over. I walked away. Not because I stopped loving him. God, I wish it were that easy. But because I could not breathe anymore. The lies sat between us like a loaded gun, and when the truth came out, it shattered everything. He kept it from Tony. He kept it from me. And when I looked him in the eye after watching that damn footage, I realized I did not even recognize the man standing in front of me. Do you know how much it hurts to realize the person you trusted with your life could not trust you back? I tried to stay. I wanted to stay. But every time I looked at him, all I could see was betrayal and silence where honesty should have been. It felt like drowning. So I left. He did not stop me. He could not. He knew he had already lost me the second he chose secrets over trust. I hate this. I hate that I still love him even now. But I cannot go back. Not when every part of me is screaming that it would kill me to keep pretending. Please do not come looking. I am not in danger, not from anyone but myself and my own thoughts. I just need time, space, something. And if you see Tony, tell him I am sorry. I am sorry I could not stop any of it. I am sorry I did not do more. Love, Laila. P.S. If you do come by, bring real coffee. The motel stuff tastes like motor oil. The letter reads, Laila does a little smile before getting up and putting on her disguise, and heads to the post office to send the letter. After paying for the letter to be sent off, Laila walks out of the post office and she thinks to herself. Back at the motel, Laila makes herself a cup of coffee, and she thinks to herself and whispers to herself, I am sorry, Peggy. I feel like I just broke your trust for what happened. Laila wipes her tears away and she sighs to herself, feeling like shit. Steve's fists connected with the training bag repeatedly. The leather groaned under the force, chains rattling as if they were begging for mercy. Sweat ran down his temples, his chest rising and falling with short, ragged breaths. He did not stop. He never stopped. Sam leaned against the wall, watching him. He had been back from scouting a lead for 20 minutes, and Steve had not even acknowledged him. You're going to break that thing in half, Sam finally said. Steve, however, did not answer. His jaw tightened as he drove another punch into the bag, sending it swinging wildly. Sam sighed, pushing off the doorframe. Yeah, that's what I thought. Steve pressed a hand to his forehead, turning away. If I stop... His voice was low, almost broken. If I stop, I'll think too much. Sam tilted his head, studying him. You mean, if you stop, you'll think about her? Steve's jaw tightened. He grabbed the towel and scrubbed it on his face. Sam did not let it go. I know what you are doing. Running headfirst into every rumor about Hydra, every whisper about enhanced soldiers. You are chasing ghosts because it is easier than sitting still. But Kat, she is not a ghost. She is still out there. Steve finally met his gaze, and for a moment the mask cracked. Pain flickered in his eyes. She left. Because of me. Because I lied. I cannot change that. Sam crossed his arms. Yeah, she left. But you do not win her back by killing yourself in the field. You do not fix things by bleeding out in every fight you find. Steve looked away again, voice rough. I do not know how to fix it. I spent years fighting for the people I care about, and the one person He stopped himself, his throat tight. She said she needed space. So, I am giving it to her. Sam stepped closer, softening his tone. Space does not mean you stop fighting for her, Steve. Space means you give her room. But you stay the man she believed in. You stay steady. You do not drown yourself in Hydra missions until there is nothing left. Steve swallowed hard, gripping the towel so tightly his knuckles turned white. He wanted to argue, but the words would not come. Sam exhaled. 1 week. That is all it has been. You both got hit hard, but this is not the end. Unless you make it the end. Steve said nothing. He just stared at the broken bag on the floor, the silence in the room louder than any shouting could have been. Back to Laila, she grabs her laptop, and he had been scrolling through local news feeds, back channels, anything that hinted at Hydra or arms dealers. Old habits, she could never sit still. But her eyes were not on the screen anymore. They were unfocused, lost. She muttered to herself, a bitter laugh slipping out. Congratulations, Laila. You wanted the truth, and now you have gotten it. And it burned everything down. The smoke curled around her, and she dragged a hand through her hair. Every time she shut her eyes, she saw Tony's face in that bunker, the way his heart had shattered when the footage played. The way Steve had looked at her when she backed away from him. You knew, Steve, and you let me walk blind into that, she whispered to the empty room, her voice sharp and raw. Laila sighs as she shuts down the laptop, and she looks at the bottle of bourbon before grabbing it and takes a swig of it. She puts down the bottle and wipes a bit from her lip, and she stands up and she grabs her disguise, a cap and sunglasses, and she goes for a walk to distract her mind from everything that has happened. After a while, Laila arrives back at the motel, and she throws the glasses and the cap onto the second bed before sitting on the bed she was sleeping in, holding her face. The flashes of Tony's heartbreak came across her mind again. Laila walks over to the drawer to change into pajamas, but as she's in bed, she couldn't sleep. Meanwhile, safe house. Steve sat on the edge of his bed, the room cloaked in shadow. The night was silent except for the steady ticking of the old wall clock. His shield leaned against the far wall, catching the faintest glimmer of moonlight through the blinds. He rubbed a hand over his face, his eyes burning from lack of sleep. Every time he closed them, he saw her walking away. Her back turned, her shoulders stiff, her voice trembling as she told him she couldn't stay. His chest ached in a way no battle wound ever had. He pressed his fist against it, as if he could hold it together through the sheer force of will. God, Laila, he whispered to the dark. Why didn't I fight harder? Why didn't I tell you everything when I had the chance? The silence swallowed his words. Steve laid back slowly, his arm draped over his forehead, but the ceiling above him felt just as suffocating as the silence. Sleep wouldn't come, not without her beside him. The day after, Laila groans from the headache from not sleeping before she hears knocking and she looks confused, before she gets up and ties her hair up, sorting her PJs out, and she walks over to the door, and she opens the door to see Natasha standing there. Natasha! She exclaimed, eyes wide, all the sleep-deprived fog clearing in an instant. What are you doing here? Natasha stood there with that unreadable, calm expression, her fiery hair catching the muted morning light. She had her arms crossed, her weight balanced on one leg, like she'd been waiting for Laila to answer long before knocking. You didn't think you could actually disappear without me noticing, did you? Natasha asked evenly. But there was a flicker of concern in her eyes that broke through the cool facade. Laila blinked, shock still written all over her face. I didn't tell anyone where I was. How the hell did you even find me? Natasha arched a brow. Laila, you know me." Layla's shoulders sagged, torn between frustration and relief, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I thought I had more time before someone came looking." Natasha stepped forward slightly, her gaze softening as she studied her friend. "Well, you're out of time. And judging by the way you look," her lips quirked into the faintest smirk, "you didn't sleep. Not one bit." Laila huffed a laugh, but it broke halfway. She turned her face away, embarrassed. "Didn't think I deserved sleep." Natasha's expression shifted, serious now, and she spoke gently but firmly. "That's not how this works. Let me in, Laila." Laila hesitated in the doorway, fingers tightening on the edge of the frame. For a moment, she wanted to slam it shut, crawl back into bed, and keep drowning in silence. But Natasha's gaze held hers steadily, cutting through every wall she tried to put up. With a resigned sigh, Laila stepped back. "Fine, come in." Natasha slipped inside, her movements quiet and deliberate. She scanned the small motel room with one sweep of her eyes. The unmade bed, the half-empty mug of cold coffee, the discarded jacket on the chair. Her lips pressed together in a tight line before she turned back to Laila. "This is what disappearing looks like to you?" Natasha asked, arching an eyebrow. "A motel that smells like mildew and cheap soap?" "Don't forget the broken vending machine outside," Laila muttered, flopping back down on the edge of the bed. "Really ties the place together." Natasha didn't smile. She crossed her arms again, leaning against the small table. "You look like hell." "Thanks," Laila said dryly. "Exactly what I needed to hear." "That wasn't an insult," Natasha replied. Her tone softened just slightly. "It's an observation. You haven't slept, you've barely eaten, and you've been avoiding everyone who cares about you." Laila looked down at her hands, picking at a loose thread in her pajama bottoms. "I needed space. To think, to breathe." Her voice cracked on the last word. Natasha crouched in front of her, forcing Laila to meet her eyes. "You don't look like you're breathing. You look like you're suffocating alone." The words hit too close to home, and Laila swallowed hard, blinking rapidly. "I walked away, Nat. From Steve, from all of it. And maybe that makes me a coward, but—" "It makes you human," Natasha interrupted firmly. "You did what you had to do to survive. To protect yourself." Layla's throat tightened. "I loved him. God, I still do. But the lies, the way he kept that truth from Tony, from me, I don't even recognize him anymore. And every time I close my eyes, I see Tony's face when it all came out. I see Steve's silence." Her voice broke entirely now, tears slipping down her cheeks, despite her effort to hold them back. "How do I come back from that?" Natasha reached out, placing a steady hand over Layla's trembling ones. "You don't come back. You go forward, one step at a time, with people who won't let you fall apart alone." Laila let out a shaky laugh through the tears. "That your way of saying you're not leaving?" Natasha smirked faintly. "You'd have to put a bullet in me first." "Don't tempt me," Laila muttered, though her lips curved weakly into something resembling a smile. Natasha squeezed her hands once, then stood, her voice practical again. "Get dressed. I'll take you out for actual food before you waste away on stale coffee and self-loathing." Laila groaned, flopping back dramatically onto the bed. "Bossy." Natasha's smirk widened. "You wouldn't have it any other way." For the first time in days, Laila let herself laugh, even if it was brief and raw. And as Natasha moved around the room, deliberately pulling back the curtains to let light in, Laila realized she wasn't suffocating alone anymore.